Okay, here's the presentation I do for schools. I first get the kids to stand up, to reach for the ceiling, touch their toes, swing left and right, and then they can sit back down. Now that gets their blood flowing so they can listen better. Then I say to them, you know, if you had a problem with your brain or spinal cord, you might not be able to do that. Hi, I'm Brian. I'm not here to scare you, but I never thought I'd go through this, and I want to keep you safe. In school, I wanted to play lead guitar in a rock band. I also had dreams of driving a race car or flying a jet. Do any of you want to do these things? My college friends called me Speedy, but now my mind and my movements are much too slow. Yet I'm lucky because I can talk to you. Have you ever been excited to do something? I was thrilled by my new engineering job in England. Here's my British car. I had exciting plans to go to business school next year, get an MBA, and become an executive. After working a long, tiring day at my company's factory, I made the poor choice to drive home alone. It was dusk on a quiet country road. I must have fallen asleep at the wheel, for suddenly I saw that I drifted to the wrong side of the road and I was racing toward the headlights of another car. The two cars slammed into each other at more than 50 miles per hour. My head was whipped around with enough force to rattle my brain inside my skull, resulting in a severe brain injury. I almost died. The other driver got out before her car burned. See the scorch mark? My car door was crushed, my pelvis, ribs, and shoulder blade was smashed, and my right lung collapsed. Basically, I stopped the other car with my body. I was saved by my seatbelt, which kept me from being hurled through the windshield. Let me show you something. See what the shoulder belt did to my collarbone? I don't remember the crash, but I've thought about it a lot. It was only 5 miles home, and I really didn't expect anything to happen during such a short drive. After the crash, I was comatose in the hospital for almost 3 weeks, and my survival was questionable. Do you know what a coma is? It's like being knocked out for days, weeks, months, and sometimes forever. As I slowly emerged from the coma, I could not walk or talk. I knew what I wanted to say, but I couldn't say it, and I was like a baby and needed constant care. I don't remember this. Eventually, my parents took me on a long flight back to the United States. This trip is one of the first things that I do vaguely remember after the car wreck, and it was over 5 weeks later. Back at home, I slept in the dining room because I couldn't make it up the stairs to my own bedroom. I was in outpatient therapy while my parents searched for a hospital to help me recover. I had been living on my own in England, but now I couldn't take care of myself. I could talk, but it was very slurred, like I had a mouthful of food. Although right-handed, I had to learn to be a lefty since my right side was partially paralyzed. See in this photo how my right side, which is on your left, is drooping? Put the hand you always write with behind your back and try writing with your other hand. I spent more than half a year living in a rehabilitation hospital, working hard trying to regain the abilities I had lost, like walking, talking, eating, thinking. All this therapy cost over $250,000 and took a long, frustrating time. I also lost many friends after my injury. They had their own lives to live, and they couldn't wait around for my slow recovery. My therapy continues to this day. 20 years after my injury, I still attend counseling twice a week. I'll need to get more sleep, take medication, and see a psychologist for the rest of my life. Here's my daughter, my safety champion. Because of the injury, I'm much slower and I have to focus on one thing at a time. I have a hard time dealing with new situations and information, so I wouldn't do very well in school right now. Sometimes my voice is not as clear as I'd like it to be, and I have to repeat myself to be understood. My right hand is numb, and sometimes I limp. I have memory problems, and I can't always recall things when I want to, so I have these notes to help me remember what I want to tell you. I carry a planner everywhere to help me keep things organized. I live with depression resulting from changes in my brain due to the crash. Finally, I can have rapid changes in my mood. My disability is permanent, so I don't work for pay. My life goals have changed. Now, I just want to feel accomplished and have happy children. I volunteer at places like OMSI, my church, and Think First. Brain injury is a silent epidemic and the #1 cause of death and disability among young people. Its victims may look normal but have many hidden problems, and that's why it's also known as the unseen injury. Because of brain injury, I had to start my life over again at age 24. Prior to that, I had thought bad things only happened to other people. 20 years after the crash, I still have problems. You might have noticed what I call happened to me a crash. That's because an accident cannot be avoided, but a crash is preventable. I know there are things I could have done to avoid my injury. A traumatic brain injury can happen to you when you hit your unprotected head. Every time I see a child rollerblading, skateboarding, scootering, skiing, or bicycling without a helmet, I want to stop them and explain the danger they're in. I'm especially concerned when I see a family riding bikes with the kids in helmets, that's great, but the parents without helmets. Do the parents think they're immune? Please protect yourself. Brain injuries can and will happen to anyone. If I had not been wearing my seatbelt, I would not have survived to ask you to think first before you act. Brain injuries and spinal cord injuries never completely heal, and the only cure is not to have an injury in the first place. Don't cheat yourself by thinking it will never happen to you, because it can. Thank you for listening.